Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're strapping on our scuba gear and plunging into something really fascinating. A relic of the past, you might say, but one that's surprisingly relevant today.
Oh, yeah. What have we got?
We're talking about the Soviet Union's OGAS project, mid-20th century stuff. The bots, Tojo Miyavakov, Hoshin of Shorus.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Oh, say that 3 times fast.
Exactly. Roughly, the National Automated System for Computation and Information Processing. Think Cold War, Sputniks, ICBMs, and the Soviets dreaming of electronic socialism.
Right, using cybernetics to manage their whole economy. A pretty wild idea for the time.
Wildly ambitious. And it definitely made some people in the West, raise an eyebrow. They saw this potential economic juggernaut maybe emerging.
Absolutely. The sheer audacity is what gets me. Taking cybernetics, the science of control and communication in systems, whether it's animals or machines, and trying to apply it to the Soviet planned economy, that's huge. It's like, imagine trying to conduct the world's biggest orchestra, but you can't see the score. You're just listening to every single instrument and shouting instructions in real time.
Yeah, that's kind of like the manual planning process they had, just
Yeah.
incredibly complex and prone to error. OGAS was the dream of building this giant automated conductor for the whole economic symphony.
Exactly. It wasn't just about faster computers. OGAS was meant to optimize resource allocation, streamline administration top to bottom. Now we know it never fully happened.
But it stalled out.
But fast forward to today, we're swimming in artificial intelligence. Modern AI makes those old room-sized computers look like, I don't know, fancy paperweights?
Totally different ballgame now.
So you naturally start wondering, what if OGAS had today's AI? What was the real potential there? And is anyone now thinking maybe China, with all its tech leaps, building something similar? An AI-powered economic brain.
That really taps into something fundamental, doesn't it? That human drive for rational, data-driven solutions to these massive societal problems.
Definitely. So our mission for this deep dive, let's explore what a successful OGAS might have looked like. Let's speculate a bit. What about an AI-boosted OGAS? And then, yeah, investigate China. Do their current systems echo OGAS in any significant way?
Sounds like a plan. And we're basing this on the document OGAS AI in China Systems.pdf, right?
Yeah.
That's our guide for this journey.
That's the one. Okay, let's rewind. Back to the Soviets. Why did OGAS even come about? What were the specific problems it was supposed to solve? It wasn't just an academic curiosity, surely.
Oh, not at all. It came directly from the very real growing pains of the Soviet planned economy back in the early 60s. Picture trying to micromanage everything across that vast country.
From tractors in Ukraine to fur hats in Siberia, all planned from Moscow on paper.
Pretty much. And that Stalinist command planning system, it was just groaning under its own weight. Coordination was a nightmare. Think about baking a huge cake, but the frosting person, the sponge person, the sprinkles person, they're barely talking.
So shortages of some things, massive piles of other things nobody needed.
Exactly. Chronic imbalances. Plus, simple calculation errors were common. Imagine doing the national budget on an abacus the size of a football field. And the bureaucracy. Endless paperwork, phone calls, telegrams. Just overwhelming.
Wow. Okay, so into this chaos steps Viktor Glushkov, the cybernetics visionary. Tell us about him. What sparked this radical idea?
Glushkov was brilliant, a real pioneer in Soviet cybernetics and computer science. He saw this economic mess escalating and had this key insight.
Which was?
In 1962, he predicted that without automation, the planning bureaucracy would need to grow 40-fold by 1980 just to get
8 times bigger. That's unsustainable.
completely. Like, the paperwork alone would become physically impossible. He realized cybernetics, feedback loops, information processing, automated control could bring order to the chaos. He even said it fits our socialist planned economy like a glove.
So he saw it as the key to optimal planning, efficient resources, maybe even allowing some local flexibility within the central plan.
That was the vision, yeah. Decentralized input informing centralized optimization.
And he had the background to make this seem credible, right? He wasn't just an ideas guy.
Absolutely not. He founded the Institute of Cybernetics in Kyiv, a major research hub. He helped develop early Soviet computers like the Dnieper, which was a sophisticated control computer for its time. So when he proposed OGAS, people listened. He had serious credibility.
It sounds like OGAS was meant to be more than just a technological fix then. It was almost a re-engineering of the Soviet system itself, potentially threatening.
Precisely. It wasn't just about speed. It was pitched as a potential solution to a deepening economic crisis. The old command system's flaws were becoming obvious. But yeah, beyond that, OGAS embodied this powerful, technocratic, ideal, rational, data-driven management by computer logic, leading to a better society.
Which would naturally challenge the bureaucrats whose power relied on controlling information and making those judgment calls themselves.
Exactly. Automating those processes, making things more transparent, that was a direct threat to the established hierarchy and how things got done.
Okay, so Glishkov has this grand plan. What did the actual blueprint for OGAS look like? How was it supposed to work?
The architecture he proposed was, well, remarkably advanced for the 60s. He envisioned this three-tiered network, like a digital nervous system for the whole country.
3 tiers?
Yeah. At the top, a main computer center in Moscow, the big brain.
Yeah.
Then, connected to that, maybe 200 mid-level centers in major cities and economic hubs, regional processors, you could say,
And the bottom tier?
up to 20,000 local terminals, spread across factories, key enterprises, other important sites, the eyes and ears on the ground, collecting the raw data. Interestingly, this structure kind of mirrored the Soviet state's own pyramid structure.
So data flows up from the factories, gets crunched centrally, and optimized plans flow back down. Is that the basic idea?
That's the general vertical flow, yes. But here's a really key innovative part. Glushkov emphasized real-time communication, using the existing phone lines, upgrading them where needed, and crucially, he wanted horizontal communication. Any terminal should be able to talk directly to any other terminal, not just up and down the hierarchy.
That's different from something like the early ARPANET in the US, right?
Very different focus. ARPANET was initially more about research communication. OGAS was designed from the ground up specifically for economic management. So yes, data up, analysis centrally, plans down, but with this built-in peer-to-peer capability. Quite revolutionary for its time.
So what were the big economic goals? What problems was this digital beast designed to slay?
Oh, the goals were incredibly ambitious. First, automate the core functions. All that data gathering, processing for accounting, planning, governance, get humans out of that loop as much as possible.
Makes sense. What else?
Second, optimize resource allocation. That was huge. Use real-time data to finally solve those coordination problems, figure out who needs what, where it is, and the best way to get it there. Reduce waste.
Better decision-making, too, presumably.
Definitely. Third goal, enhance decision-making.
Right.
Use computer models to analyze data, predict trends more accurately, make faster, smarter choices, maybe even anticipate bottlenecks before they happened.
And streamline the planning process itself.
Fourth goal, improve planning efficiency, streamline those incredibly complex material balance calculations, the giant spreadsheets trying to match inputs and outputs across the whole economy, make sure different sectors were actually in sync.
Okay, that's 4. Any more?
Fifth, integrate management systems. Link everything from product design through manufacturing, testing, even internal management within enterprises. These were called ASU or ASUP systems. Think early enterprise resource planning, the Soviet style.
Wow. And the last one sounds almost like science fiction.
The sixth goal, pretty radical, move towards a moneyless economy. Glushkov explicitly talked about electronic payments, electronic accounting via OGAS. He even envisioned physical currency becoming obsolete. They framed it as fulfilling Marxist prophecy, believe it or not.
A moneyless economy run by computers. Okay, that's
Bold.
extremely bold.
So while it was hierarchical, the aim was centralized optimization based on decentralized data. Theoretically, much more responsive than the old top-down system.
It all sounds almost utopian in its ambition. What kind of impact did they think a fully working OGAS would have? What was the promise?
The promise was revolutionary, genuinely. The idea was to finally break free from the limits of manual central planning. The planning cycle itself, months of paperwork shuffling, could be drastically shortened. Automated data collection, instant analysis, rapid plan dissemination.
Mastering those complex material balance equations, coordinating sectors seamlessly?
Exactly. That was the dream and the expected payoff. A massive surge in economic efficiency and productivity.
Right.
Rational resource allocation. Minimal waste, unlocking huge economic growth potential.
And the U.S. government actually took this seriously back then.
Oh, yes. In 1962, they were genuinely concerned. Arthur Schlesinger Jr., Kennedy's advisor, worried it could give the USSR a tremendous advantage in key tech areas if they really went for it.
So that real-time data aspect was absolutely key to all this.
Absolutely critical. The old system always worked with outdated information, months or years old sometimes. OGAS promised an up-to-the-minute snapshot of the entire economy.
Meaning faster, more accurate decisions.
Yeah.
Proactive problem solving.
That was the idea. Spot issues before they became crises instead of just reacting afterwards. And an interesting side effect they anticipated, shrinking the bureaucracy,
Ah, fewer planners needed if computers did the heavy lifting.
potentially. Some even hoped it might lead to fairer resource allocation, minimizing the human factor bias, corruption, that sort of thing. But maybe that was a bit optimistic.
It does sound a bit idealistic.
But the geopolitical implications were massive. If OGAS had worked as planned, it really could have shifted the Cold War's economic balance.
Okay, so we have this incredible, potentially world-changing vision. What on earth happened? Why did this cybernetic dream just fizzle out?
Right, this is the fascinating and honestly kind of frustrating part. It wasn't primarily a technical failure. The main reasons OGAS collapsed were, well, classic bureaucratic infighting, political resistance, and a lack of sustained high-level backing and funding.
The system turned on itself, in a way.
Pretty much. It got tangled in the gears. You had intense rivalry between powerful ministries. The Central Statistical Administration championed OGAS, but that immediately put them against the Ministry of Finance, led by the very powerful Vasily Garbazov.
And Garbazov didn't like OGS.
Hated it. Saw it as a direct threat to his control over financial information and resources. He fought it tooth and nail, pushing for simpler systems under his ministry's control. Reportedly even threatened other reforms if OGAS went ahead.
So, classic turf wars at the top.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just him. Other agencies, like CEPI, had their own competing projects, fragmenting the effort. Plus, the military wasn't particularly interested either, which didn't help.
And resistance wasn't just at the ministerial level.
No, it went deep. Widespread fear across the party and state bureaucracy. Officials worried about losing their jobs, their power, having their inefficiencies exposed by this transparent system. Glushkov himself talked about real panic among managers.
And it threatened the informal networks, too, the BLAT system.
Exactly. That whole system of backroom deals and favors, which was, let's be honest, how a lot of things actually got done. OGAS threatened to bypass all that with cold, hard data.
The cost must have been a factor, too.
Oh, definitely. The projected cost was enormous, initial estimates were huge, and they ballooned later, became an easy target for opponents, even though Glushkov argued the returns would be massive.
So the funding just wasn't there.
Glushkov's formal funding request in 1970 was denied. The 24th Party Congress in 71 only endorsed localized, smaller systems. It just didn't get the consistent high-level political championship it needed.
Unlike, say, the nuclear program or the space race.
Precisely. Those had powerful, unwavering backers who could push through obstacles. Kosygin was initially supportive of OGS, but both he and Brezhnev were missing from the key Politburo meeting. Left Glushkov exposed.
So it wasn't officially killed, just starved.
Effectively stalled, left in bureaucratic limbo. While some Western analysts maybe focused on tech hurdles back then, the consensus now is firmly on the political and bureaucratic roadblocks.
And the result was just a mess of uncoordinated systems.
A fragmented patchwork. Lots of isolated ASU's automated control systems within individual factories or ministries. Different standards, no integration. Later network projects also failed due to underfunding and inertia.
It's ironic, isn't it? A supposedly centralized system proving so resistant to centralizing, optimizing change.
Deeply ironic. It showed powerful institutional inertia. Protecting existing power structures won out over potential optimization.
It really is a story of unfulfilled potential, then. What's the lasting legacy?
Profoundly unfulfilled potential. If it had been implemented, even partially, it might have addressed those growing inefficiencies, maybe even prolonged the Soviet system's viability. Glushkov's warning in 1970 about difficulties without OGAS looks pretty prescient now, given the stagnation later on.
Hard to say for sure, of course, but it could have changed things.
Plausibly, yes. Significant improvements in resource allocation productivity. It could have altered the late Cold War dynamic. But even though it failed, OGAS itself was remarkable, pioneering. It anticipated network databases, real-time monitoring, digital currency, even cloud computing principles way before the West.
One of the most ambitious attempts ever to apply cybernetics to a whole economy.
Absolutely. And the enduring lessons are about that complex dance between technology, politics, bureaucracy. Technological feasibility just isn't enough, is it?
Especially when entrenched interests feel threatened.
Right. Inertia, rivalries, fear of losing power.
Yeah.
That MIT reviewer's comment about socialists behaving like capitalists, protecting their turf, that really nails a key part of it. OGAS remains this compelling case study in the challenges of large-scale change.
Fascinating. Okay, let's jump forward now to today. AI is everywhere. What if we dusted off OGAS and gave it a modern AI upgrade? What could that look like?
Right, this is where it gets really interesting, maybe even a bit unsettling. AI has changed everything since the 60s.
Hmm.
Machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning, natural language processing, these are incredibly powerful tools.
So integrating these into the OGAS framework, what could that amplify?
Potentially, it could amplify OGAS's intended functions in mind-boggling ways. Take forecasting, for instance. Instead of 1960s statistical models, AI, machine learning, deep learning could analyze vast data sets, production figures, consumer spending, global commodity prices, sensor data, everything.
And find patterns humans couldn't see, make much better predictions.
Far more accurate and nuanced predictions. Forecasting demand, resource needs, supply chain issues, macroeconomic trends, enabling truly proactive, adaptive planning, light years beyond what OGAS could have done.
And optimization. That was a core goal.
AI, especially reinforcement learning and sophisticated optimization algorithms, is built for complex, large-scale allocation problems. And AI could continuously adjust production, logistics, energy, labor, inter-industry flows in real time, constantly seeking peak efficiency in ways unimaginable back then.
Like a super intelligent, constantly learning economic controller.
Pretty much. And the data could handle.
Eh.
OGS planned for maybe 20,000 terminals. An AI version could tap into billions of IoT devices, sensors, online transactions, creating this incredibly rich, real-time, granular view of the economy.
Processing structured and unstructured data.
Exactly, giving unprecedented insight. And AI could go beyond just processing data to actual automated decision support.
Yeah.
Identifying optimal policies, adjusting plans dynamically to shocks, even suggesting new strategic initiatives.
It sounds a bit like some modern economic models, like agent-based modeling.
There are parallels, yeah. Models like Eurace simulate economies with many agents. AI could supercharge those, making their predictive and adaptive capabilities for resource allocation in a planned context far more powerful.
Okay, the potential efficiency sounds incredible, almost like the solution to the socialist calculation debate Hayek talked about. Could AI finally process all that dispersed knowledge?
That's the huge theoretical question, isn't it? Could a powerful AI with comprehensive real-time data overcome Hayek's challenge? Maybe. Perhaps AI OGAS could achieve those massive efficiency gains Glishkov dreamed of.
But there's always a but.
There's always a but. The sheer power that enables that efficiency also opens up a Pandora's box of risks and ethical nightmares. Concentrating that much information and control in one central entity, that's inherently dangerous.
What are the biggest risks that jump out at you?
Well, first off, algorithmic bias. AI learns from data. If that data reflects historical inequalities, and most economic data does, the AI could perpetuate or even amplify those biases in resource allocation, needs assessment.
Defining fairness for an algorithm running an economy sounds impossible.
Incredibly difficult, politically charged. Then there's catastrophic error risk. Dependence on one complex AI system creates a massive single point of failure. Algorithm bugs, data errors, flawed assumptions could cause cascading economic failures far worse than old inefficiencies.
Could it stifle innovation too?
Very possibly. An overly centralized AI control might crush local initiative, experimentation, the very things needed for real innovation and dynamism. It might be good at optimizing the known, but not discovering the new.
And the surveillance aspect.
Huge concern. To work effectively, AI OGAS would need near total visibility into economic activity. That means pervasive surveillance, collecting vast amounts of data, massive privacy implications.
And that control mechanism could be misused.
Easily. What starts as economic optimization could be repurposed for social engineering, political repression, far beyond OGAS's original intent. It amplifies that core tension. Centralized optimization versus individual autonomy, privacy, decentralized choice.
Efficiency gains might come at the cost of unacceptable state control, a double-edged sword.
A very sharp one.
So even with AI's power, could it overcome the original reasons OGS failed? The politics, the bureaucracy?
That's the crucial question. AI could handle the technical data challenges better? Sure. Integrating messy, diverse data from those fragmented ASUs. AML is good at that.
But the human element, the resistance.
AI offers no magic bullet there. The core reasons were political, bureaucratic, fear of lost power, lost jobs, exposure, disruption of informal networks, and even more powerful, potentially more disruptive AI OGAS would likely face stronger resistance.
So overcoming that still needs political will, power shifts, not just better tech.
Exactly. And cost. Computation is cheaper, yes, but a nationwide AI economic system, still colossally expensive. Hardware, software, cybersecurity, AI talent, massive investment needed, competing with other priorities.
So the OGAS failure really highlights that tech potential isn't enough.
Not when you're trying to reshape the state and economy. The primary barriers were political economy, power distribution, conflicting incentives, resistance to transparency and change. AI, however potent, doesn't automatically change those human and institutional dynamics. AI OGAS might be technically superior, but likely face the same, or worse, political roadblocks.
And the broader ethical questions of handing the economy to an AI, they seem huge.
Staggering, really. Pervasive surveillance, as we said, extreme privacy risks, then algorithmic fairness. How do you prevent encoding and amplifying bias on a national scale? Monumental challenge.
Transparency, too. If these AI models are black boxes, how do you hold them accountable?
Exactly. If an AI plan causes harm, who's responsible? How do you even debug it if you don't fully understand its reasoning? Huge accountability problems.
And cybersecurity must be a nightmare.
A prime target, a centralized AI controlling the economy, vulnerable to cyber attacks, espionage, sabotage. Ensuring resilience would be incredibly difficult, and failure could be devastating.
And just fundamentally, human agency, handing over economic decisions to AI.
It raises deep questions, less individual choice, less entrepreneurialism, less local adaptation. It might be efficient, but at the cost of human autonomy and control over our economic lives. So even if technically feasible, the trade-offs are immense. Efficiency versus control, privacy, fairness, autonomy.
Incredibly thought-provoking. Okay, let's pivot from the hypothetical to the present. China. Massive tech advancements, unique state-driven approach. Are they building a modern AI-powered OGIS? Are we seeing echoes there?
That's the key question connecting the past to now, isn't it? China is undeniably a major player in using advanced tech for state management and economic governance. Its national AI strategies are ambitious, development is rapid, so asking if they're building an AI OGAS analog is highly relevant.
What are China's big AI ambitions? What's the strategy?
They've been very clear. They aim to be the world leader in AI innovation by 2030. Policy documents like the Next Generation Artificial Intelligence Development Plan from 2017 spell this out. It's tied to things like Made in China 2025, upgrading manufacturing, moving up the value chain.
A big push to integrate AI everywhere, boost productivity.
Absolutely. State bodies like the NDRC, the National Development Reform Commission, basically their top economic planning agency, are central to this. They guide the five-year plans, industrial policy, promote AI and data management. The NDRC has a very broad mandate.
The crucial difference, China isn't a Soviet-style centrally planned economy, right?
Fundamentally different. It's a socialist market economy with Chinese characteristics. The state has huge influence, yes, but market mechanisms, a large private sector, they play a massive role.
So the AI strategy isn't about replacing markets like OGAS aim to.
No, it seems more about using state guidance and technology to steer, monitor, and enhance this mixed economy for national competitiveness, resilience. It's not automated central planning in the UGAS sense.
Okay, different goals. But are there specific large-scale data integration platforms in China that feel a bit like OGAS in their ambition for oversight?
Yes. While the ultimate aims might differ, China has made huge strides in building large-scale data platforms using AI and big data for specific governance functions. Let's look at a couple of examples.
Like smart cities.
Exactly. Many Chinese cities, Shenzhen is often highlighted, have major smart city projects. They integrate data from everywhere: government, utilities, transport, environment, surveillance, citizen input onto unified platforms.
Trying to break down those information silos between agencies.
That's a key goal. Projects like Shenzhen Ziwang aim for a unified public information view. The goals are better urban management, better public services like through city apps like Shenzhen, and stronger governance capacity overall.
Often involving partnerships between government and big tech firms.
Very close collaboration, typically. And it's a centralized government-led approach. So technically, you see echoes of OGAS in breaking down silos, integrating data, but the application is focused on urban governance and services, not nationwide economic planning.
Okay, what's another example?
The Golden Tax System, or GPS. This is a nationwide system for digitalizing tax administration. It's evolved over several phases.
Aims being
Standardized filing, improve collection efficiency, fight evasion and fraud, provide a unified platform for tax authorities, use big data analytics, potentially AI, to cross-reference tax data with other sources, e-invoices, banks, customs, other departments.
allowing for smarter audits, risk analysis.
Exactly. Complex risk analysis, automated comparisons, anomaly detection, targeted audits. It definitely influences corporate behavior, maybe reduces avoidance, but maybe also chills some activity due to scrutiny.
So again, large-scale data integration, advanced analytics for state purposes, accurate about OGAS tech, but focused on tax, not holistic planning.
Precisely. The focus is specific: tax administration, efficiency, and enforcement.
Then there's the social credit system. Widely discussed, often controversial. How does that fit in?
The SCS. It's complex and often misunderstood. It's not one single national score. It's more like a web of interconnected national, regional systems, pilot programs, commercial apps, all assessing trustworthiness.
Trustworthiness covering what? Just financial credit?
Much broader. Financial credit, yes, but also commercial integrity, judicial compliance, adherence to social norms, even socialist core values. The stated aim is rewarding the trustworthy, punishing the untrustworthy for a harmonious socialist society.
And it operates by collecting data from everywhere.
Pretty much. Financial data, court records, administrative penalties, business compliance, commercial platforms, online behavior, social interactions, public surveillance, vast amounts from diverse sources.
Processed by algorithms, leading to scores or blacklists.
Often opaque algorithms generate assessments. Sometimes scores and pilots, more often blacklists and red lists with real consequences. Big data analytics, AI, facial recognition are integral to the data collection, processing, linking.
Consequences like travel bans, job restrictions, benefits for being on a red list.
Yes, blacklisting can lead to travel restrictions, job ineligibility, limited finance, public shaming. Red listing might mean faster procedures, fewer inspections, discounts.
So while it uses economic data, its scope is much wider, social and political control.
Definitely. It goes far beyond economic optimization into social and political behavior. The criteria are often unclear, explicitly tied to promoting specific values. This focus on shaping social conduct, ensuring stability, really distinguishes it from OGAS's economic planning goal.
Okay. And finally, the Integrated Joint Operations Platform, IJOP. That sounds different, more direct control.
IJOP, yeah, a starker application. AI and data fusion for surveillance and social control, primarily deployed in Xinjiang. Officially, it's for counterterrorism. Human rights groups document it as a tool of repression against Uyghurs and other minorities.
How does it work? What data does it integrate?
It's like a central brain, pulling data from a huge network. CCTV with facial emotion recognition, mandatory checkpoints, scanning IDs in phones, data doors, Wi-Fi sniffers, vehicle tracking, monitoring utility use, access to government databases, biometrics, health, banking, family ties.
And officials interact via an app.
Yes, inputting data, receiving alerts. Algorithms analyze the fused data, flagging people based on broad, often normal behaviors deemed suspicious.
Examples.
Things like using too much electricity, unregistered phones, encrypted apps, unauthorized travel, mosque donations, foreign contacts, even having relatives flagged as suspicious.
And being flagged leads to.
IJO generates lists for interrogation, detention, and political education camps, often without due process. It facilitates predictive policing, monitors relationships, enforces movement restrictions, virtual fences, controls daily life.
Xinjiang as a testing ground for these technologies.
That's the concern, potential for wider deployment or export. So while IJOP involves sophisticated data integration and analysis relevant to large-scale management, its purpose is unequivocally surveillance, social control, political repression. Stark contrast to OGAK's economic goals. It's a chilling example of AI and data fusion for authoritarian control without safeguards.
Okay, we've looked at smart cities, golden tax, social credit, IJOP. Putting it all together, is China building an AI-OGAS hybrid? What's the verdict?
Well, synthesizing it all, while there are superficial similarities, the fundamental differences in objectives and economic context are huge. Labeling it an AI-OGAS hybrid really oversimplifies things, I think. It's misleading.
What are the similarities, just to be clear?
Okay, similarities. Both show a belief in the power of large-scale data networks, computation, and AI in China's case, to tackle national challenges, enhance state capacity. China is making significant efforts in data integration, smart cities, GTS, echoing a core OGAS challenge, and both involve strong state leadership and centralized guidance.
But the differences are more profound.
Much more significant. First, primary objective. OGAS aimed for comprehensive, real-time optimization of economic planning in a command economy. China's systems have diverse goals: governance efficiency, social control, targeted economic management within a market economy. The goals of SCS, GTS, smart cities, IGAP are distinct from holistic economic planning.
Second, the economic context itself.
Right. OGAS was for a non-market command economy. China has a socialist market economy fundamentally different, with a large private sector, global integration.
And scope. Is China building one single unified system like OGS envisioned?
Not really. China's systems are increasingly interconnected, yes, but still somewhat fragmented by domain or region. There isn't a single overarching platform of real-time national economic micromanagement like OGAS proposed. Integration is happening, but it's not that unified vision.
So different contexts, different goals leading to different applications of similar underlying technologies.
Precisely. The conclusion has to be, China is not building an AI OGAS hybrid for automated central planning. They're leveraging AI and data for governance, monitoring, control across various domains tailored to their specific system, not replicating the Soviet dream.
The tools could theoretically be used for OGAS-like planning, but current applications show different priorities and realities.
Exactly that.
This has been incredibly insightful. We've gone from Cold War cybernetic dreams to today's AI-driven realities. As we wrap up, what are the main takeaways for you?
I think this whole exploration gives us profound insights into that relationship between tech, economic organization, and state power. OGAS stands as this visionary but failed attempt, a powerful reminder that tech feasibility isn't enough when political and bureaucratic hurdles stand in the way.
And the AI OGAS hypothetical.
It shows AI's potential to enhance the tech side, sure, but it likely amplifies the concerned centralization, surveillance, bias, agency without solving those core political barriers.
And China today.
China's aggressively pursuing AI and data integration for its national strategy. Systems like GTS, Smart Cities, SCS, IGOP show sophisticated capabilities. But crucially, they serve distinct goals: efficiency, governance, social control within a state-influenced market economy, not comprehensive central planning like OGAS.
So calling it an AI OGAS hybrid misses the point.
It fundamentally mischaracterizes the different contexts and objectives. China's building an AI-powered system for enhanced state governance and management in its own unique way, not automated central planning.
Okay, so as we all watch AI and big data become more integrated globally into governance and economies, what's a final thought or question to leave our listeners with?
I think it's about constantly considering that balance. The global tension between the benefits of AI and big data efficiency, better services, and the risks, surveillance, loss of liberty, concentrated control. How do societies ensure fairness, transparency, accountability in these powerful systems?
Looking beyond the algorithms themselves.
Exactly. The lessons from OGAS's unrealized dream and China's unfolding AI reality remind us. We have to look at the political choices, the institutional context, the societal values that shape how these transformative technologies are actually developed and deployed. That's where the real questions lie.